AskReddit by Rhinope. What are weird jobs nobody knows about but they pay well? I once met a professional ice sculptor who made a killing at corporate events and weddings. It's a niche skill, but the pay is pretty impressive. Talent must also be impressive. My sister-in-law is a nose for Yankee Candle. When a vat of scented wax is ready, she sniffs it. I used to be friends with one of Heineken's official tasters. She literally drank every day for work. Don't know how the pay was, but she didn't seem broke. I make teeth on a computer. I use a CAD/CAM program to design crowns and bridges for dental laboratories. I work remotely and do pretty well. My husband is a dentist and his luxury crown lab guy makes $. He's super expensive to use but his crowns are phenomenal. Me desperately weeding through jobs to see if I qualify for any. How much does that pay? My dad was a master flavorist. He made artificial flavors for candy, beverages and lots of other things. He made a lot of money during his career. I'm an analytical chemist for a flavor company who, among other things, reverse engineers competitive flavors to give the flavor chemists insight lol. Indeed they make bank. Finding out how you can make a naturally derived citrus flavor taste the same every time when you have to source your extracts and oils from different places in the world, at different times of the year, while the stock might be a different age due to supply issues can be a lot more complex than one might think. I had a boyfriend in Oklahoma who got state wages for going into backwoods and down dirt roads to find trash people dumped. His job was to report the trash for others to clean up, but most importantly, he had to sift through the trash to find anything that would identify who dumped the trash. I went with him a few times and I felt like a detective. It was quite fun. And X200B. Edit for those that asked. I do not remember the name of the position, and Google was no help. I did find this https://www.thetum.com/stories/sumter-county-litter-officer-sets-the-changes-in-dash-behavior, 39787 and X200B. For some reason the only name that comes to mind is manhole cover. Sorry, that was 23 years ago and my memory is not that sharp. Yes, sir, Officer OB, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage. When you work as a government employee or contractor with a top secret clearance, after you retire or get laid off, you can work as an escort within classified facilities called SIFs. Escorts are needed when an uncleared person needs to work in the SIF. For example, it might be a top secret data center that needs an air conditioner repair. All the escort has to do is watch the repairman and stay with them throughout the visit. They usually just drag a chair over and sit there while getting paid damn good money. Honey, you need to stop telling people that if you get laid off your plan is to work at an escort service. An old neighbor of mine was a picture hanging specialist contracted by many museums. He made $75K a year at the time, about $150K adjusted for inflation. Hiring straight-edge professionals who won't put up with crooked business. You know how they have repo men to repossess cars of borrowers not keeping up with payments? Well, they also have repo men for yachts and private jets. I talked to an older guy with a pilot's license who was getting a lot of calls to join an outfit that does this, but he said he wasn't crazy about finding out what kind of security a guy in possession of a $10 million plane would have and what they would do to keep it. I worked on Oprah's plane. It was just sitting at Midway Airport with the other planes. Nothing special. The only weird thing was we had to pop a bunch of popcorn in the hangar when she came so she didn't have to smell airline fuel. I have several Christmas bonus checks signed by Oprah herself. Cardiovascular perfusionist. Can't have open heart surgery without us, but almost no one knows we exist. I had a friend who was considering applying to school for that, but after they shadowed someone in it, they decided against it. Apparently the guy they were shadowing said the call schedule was rough and you basically had to live in around the big city since those are the only places that do that type of surgery. I play trumpet for a touring Broadway show. Not that weird, but it's amazing how few people know there are real musicians playing live below the stage. That job is the pits. I'm a greensperson in the film industry. I'm responsible for building and maintaining the plants and trees on a set. I've actually wondered how someone gets this job. I'm a landscape designer and I'm always noticing how bad the plants usually look in movies and TV shows. Like super unrealistic for the ecosystem they're supposedly representing. I'm sure most people don't notice, but it drives me crazy. I live in LA, so maybe I can get work as a greensperson. My aunt and her daughter both do seasonal work as hand pollinators, harvesters. Certain types of plants, saffron, vanilla orchids, have very small windows of time when you can pollinate or harvest from them, a couple of hours to a half day, so the growers need people who can work fast and delicately to hand pollinate or harvest whatever plant they are growing. Plus if the plant is small and they grow in the ground, it's a lot of bending to get down and do whatever has to be done. Especially if they have a whole field of tiny flowers and you are using tweezers or a tiny paintbrush. My auntie and cousin have been doing it for years now. They always get called back and make a lot of money for 1-2 days work. I work in this field as well, but as the grower. We have about 20 acres under glass production, but a couple of those are set aside for breeding. All the breeding greenhouses are hand pollinated, since crosses, selfs, etc. are so important you can't rely on the bees. Most of the folks on the pollination team have been doing it for 20+ years and are truly incredible. It takes a lot of patience and detail to hand pollinate thousands of flowers every day. I was once a pine cone harvester. A helicopter would cut off the tops of trees and bring them to us to pick off the pine cones, which would then go to tree planters to germinate and plant. $35 to fill a 5-gallon bucket. Experienced pickers would fill 2 an hour, but the sap getting all over your clothes, skin, and hair is very annoying and a big deterrent for most. I've been wondering about doing this. I'm a tree planter, so I feel it'd be kinda fun to do this too. I used to work for a landlord doing maintenance on his properties. I had free rent and made $3K a month. This was late 90s into the early 2000s. It was a good gig. I had a truck he gave me. I would go around mowing lawns, shoveling snow, light repairs. Any major repairs he sent to the contracting company he owned, I'd call them and a guy would be over a few hours, problem out of my hands. Pet food companies have a staff of human people to taste test the food. For obvious reasons, this pays pretty well, I hear. So when they say new and improved taste, they are not lying. Not that weird, but lesser known, I'm a focus group moderator, which means I sit in a conference room with a group about 8 people and lead a discussion about whatever product or brand I'm working for. The groups are usually 90 minutes or 2 hours tops, and for in-person, I get paid $2K group. Virtual groups are a little less, but still excellent rates. How did you get into this? That sounds like something I'd love to do. I once had a gig trying to sneak weapons past airport security. It wasn't a long-term thing, but student me thought the pay was pretty good. Were you ever successful? In New York City, and probably only in New York City, you can be a professional wait-in-line person. You wait in line for a theater ticket or a seat at a famous restaurant. Lines that take hours. A tourist who doesn't want to wait and has a full itinerary will happily pay you to stand in for them so that they can see the show or eat at the famous restaurant later that day. They have this in DC as well. Law firms will pay people to wait in line when the Supreme Court is about to announce a ruling. It's not much though, I think. I go to horse shows and people pay me to look at their horse every 2 hours in the middle of the night and make sure it's not dead. In the meantime, I make horses look pretty for the show ring in the morning. I can walk away from 3 days of work with over $3,000. Have you heard of sheath cleaning? https://www.horseandhound.co.uk/features/cleaning-sheaths-cleaning-sheaths-cleaning-?? I was horrified and fascinated at the same time. Ship pilot, especially ice pilots. You need a decent amount of experience, but it's not unheard of for people's day rates to be in the multiple thousands. And if anything goes wrong, technically and legally it's the captain's fault. Ice pilot here $162 k. Routine flights to the South Pole. Not sure how unknown this is, but legal researcher just spends all day looking up cases for a law firm to support their arguments, etc. My father's friend does this, and from what I can tell, gets paid extremely well. It's a law librarian. The job is a ton of fun if you like solving puzzles and sleuthing through case law, but finding well-paid work in this is very tough. Most are making $60 k, $80 k in very high cost of living areas, with either a master's degree in library science or a law degree, occasionally both, to add debt on top of it. Deleted. Must be under 31 years old to start. Great job though. I worked as an organ deliverer. Forgot the official title for around a year. Job was simple. I was stationed in the biggest hospital in my state. If an organ donation was received that needed to go to another hospital for a transplant, it was my job to move it. I was paid $40 an hour to most nights sit on my ass in the break room and watch TV or play on my phone. I'd probably only have to deliver something once a week at most. It was an okay job except that it was boring as shit, since the hospital I was stationed at did 95% of all the organ transplants in my state. And the other major hospital that did them was around 3 hours away and you wouldn't ever have to go up to north to it. Lots of pay to sit around, but well, I wasn't exactly feeling fulfilled career-wise. A lot of people might already know this. Everyone focuses on how much movie stars make, but the blue-collar crew members make a pretty penny as well. Not millions for one project, obviously, but 6 figures a year type of good. Think boom op, a greens person, plants, or some dude running cable to power the sets. These people make good money. Being a greens person would be awesome. Deleted. I did that for a while. I quit after I had to clean up a scene from a guy who got doped up and tried to break into a church through a stained glass window. He was impaled by the glass and cut open his stomach and bled to death hanging right there in the window. It was definitely the bloodiest scene I've ever seen. I just really did not enjoy it, and after spending like a week redoing the floors, windows, and mopping up blood, I had enough. It was an all-service cleanup company. Water damage, dead bodies, fire restoration, it didn't matter. I'm a trash man. I get paid well to work out. There's a 5-year waiting list to get hired by NIC Department of Sanitation. Ex-co-worker went on the list the day he graduated high school. Got hired at 24. He'll be retired with a full pension and benefits by 54. Had a connection in DOS and got posted by his home. Works 5 hours on an average day if they move efficiently. He said the only real downside is getting up at 2 or 3 AM. And any extra work, plowing, salting for a storm, etc., pays double time. I wish I knew all of this when I was 18. I know a guy that makes mocked up photos of what women will look like after they have a plastic surgery procedure. Sounds like something that will likely be replaced by AI in the very near future. Roadies. Aka the people that tour with concerts and set them up for a living. We can easily make 100k plus a year. Sheesh. I've been rigging festivals the past 5 years and never cleared more than 60 plus paid for all my own travel. I'm clearly in the wrong side of things. Here in Germany, corpse washer cleaner, don't know the English term. Mortician? I have a buddy who gets to remove or kill things on a runway. Alligators, bees, deer, birds. If it's on the active runway, no matter what it is, it gets shot and removed. Very rarely do they have to do this. I think my buddy's been doing it 5 years now and hasn't had to shoot anything. But he has had to remove alligators from nearby ponds and spray for hornets and such. Around $30 an hour. How do you shoot a bee? Corrugated fiberboard structural engineer designer, which is a long-winded way to say that I design cardboard boxes for a living. I make pretty decent money too. I spend my day in a design lab, think large mostly empty room with a lot of corrugated cardboard sheets and a few large CNC flatbed cutting machines. I use a program called AskReddit to draw a flat-end box shape, essentially how it looks before being glued, folded up, assembled, and then that drawing is converted into a physical cutting die to be used on machinery in the factory portion of where I work. It's incredibly fun work and really makes you think about the packaging industry as a whole. We try to avoid non-paper materials at all costs, so our products, the boxes, tend to be very environmentally friendly. We also source all of our paper from ecologically friendly corrugators who own land and grow trees instead of buying them from deforesters. A lot of my job is making really simple boxes for everyday items. Your typical cardboard box style, 4 flaps on top and bottom. But I get to do more interesting stuff pretty often, like displays. Think the cardboard displays you see in grocery store aisles, and also unique packaging that has to protect the product inside. I drive around and look at parking lot lights at night, making sure there are no outages. I don't fix it, I report it in an app, and the guys with the bucket truck show up later. It's part of the overall service my company provides. It's a monthly fee, and I pretty much have a set list of properties I visit either once a month or once a quarter. The pay isn't exceptional, but I basically get paid to listen to podcasts, so no complaints here. They also pay mileage, properly, so no tax. Maybe not exactly an answer to the question, but yeah, there's someone that does that. Can I get more information about this? I had a window screen repair business for a few years. Worked by myself out of my basement, and when it was nice out of my truck at people's homes. I probably only made 50-60k annually, but I only worked a few days a week, a couple hours a day. Work-life balance was pretty nice. My friend is working with a guy who does the flooring felt for mini golf courses. Apparently there are only a few people in the US who do it, and they make a killing, including expenses paid to fly out, etc. I once knew a guy that bred crickets. He sold them to pet stores. He also collected and sold the cricket poop as fertilizer. Crickets smell so bad, I bet he did too. I'm a pathologist's assistant. Some people know that we do autopsies, but the majority of the job is dissection of surgical specimens. Basically anything removed from the body, biopsies to whole organs or limbs, comes to us for sampling. Frozen embryo travel concierge. They pick up the tanks and get them through airport security, then fly with them to the destination and drop them off. Auditor. I work with financial auditors to ensure that businesses are doing what they say they are in terms of data protection, access control, cybersecurity, software development, etc. It is a lot of what are your policies and AMP procedures, do you follow them, do they map to NIST, ISO, other frameworks and best practices? There is a lot of asking questions and ensuring people are doing what they should be doing. Occasionally, you discover fraud or incompetence and get a VP fired. It requires decent skills, lots of continuing education, strong soft skills, and a solid bullshit detector. I work mostly remote. I get European levels of vacation with American pay and no mandatory overtime. I get paid to do training, attend conferences, and get certs and CPEs built into my regular hours. As someone that works in it, I understand the importance of your role, but you can all also go to hell. Deleted. I know a guy whose job for the last 2 years has been to address complaints from visitors of a particular government website. The website still doesn't exist. I'm a casino attendant. I wouldn't say base pay is outstanding, but when you add the tips in, then it's pretty good money. And they are pretty consistent. It's not a weird job but an underrated one. Dog walking pays very well, especially since lockdown. People are getting dogs instead of having kids, so it's very in demand job and pays well. Very well, as people want their fur babies treated like royalty. I wish there was such a thing as cat walking. Miso builds trails. It's a job I never considered until we met. I am much more aware of my trail etiquette, knowing people have put a lot of time and effort into making a trail for me to walk on. Bad news is, he only occasionally will come hiking since he spends so much time already on trail. It's like going to work for him. Although when he does come with, it is fun to get his perspective on the state of a trail and hear his thoughts on how it can be improved. This is one of the most interesting posts I've read. I sell compost worms on the side. You would be surprised how many people want to buy worms. I usually cannot meet demand. Got any tips on getting into this? What kind of operation size are you rocking currently? Moving into a new house soon, been considering it for personal supply just for the garden, but the idea of monetizing it is something I honestly didn't consider. Bovine artificial insemination technicians. In an area with a large number of farms, a tech can make $100,000 plus company vehicle and benefits. In addition, these jobs are in rural areas, so cost of living is generally lower. Are you a master baitier? Sober companions. They make upwards of 1K a day by living with and spending all day with those who are at risk of a relapse. I sell software, $90K base plus commission. WFH and AMP. Realistically work about 10 HRSWK at most. Using the free time to get certified and AMP, land an enterprise account executive role, making $150K plus base plus commission, working 30 HRSWK. I have a bachelor's and AMP, master's in an art related field and AMP, freelanced for 15 years before getting into this. I know several people who do this. Their total take home is anywhere from $350K, $600K. I'm a sock designer. My city's average senior position salary ranges between $90K, $130K a year. VFX editor for scripted television. I'm in charge of keeping track of all the VFX on a show, creating temp versions, turning files over to vendors to do the finals, and a bunch of other stuff. No degree required, and I make about $250K a year.